Well, Pete Doctor's done it again, everybody. Pete Doctor has done it again, and it's all the raves on all the raves. Is that a phrase? All the rage on Disney Plus.
Wait,
Bob Marley. I would like to quote something from Bob Marley just for a second. Don't gain the world and lose your soul. Wisdom is better than silver and gold. That's a quote from Bob Marley. Pretty much sums up the entire movie.
Can't argue with that.
I have one question.
Yes,
Did Doctor direct Monsters Inc. and Toy Story?
I don't think so. I'll need to look into this.
I'll do it. I'm usually the research person of this group.
Thank you, Sherry. Please do. Pete Doctor's
Toy Story was with like John Lasseter, because Pete Docter did Inside Out and Soul.
Yes, Pete Docter directed Up. He directed Inside Out. He did Soul, of course. Pete Docter has been known as one of the most highly praised directors in the Pixar team, simply because...
Oh, shoot! He actually did do Monsters, Inc.
Ah, yes! Yes, he did do Monsters, Inc. Oh, brilliant, brilliant. Fantastic. So yeah, even from early on, at that early stage, he took concepts that everyone was very, very familiar with and giving a nice twist to it. It's like with Monsters, Inc., we're all used to monsters on the bed coming out of the cupboard, just scaring the kids. He gave it a little twist. Okay, what do they do for a living when they're not scaring kids? Well, they're actually scaring kids to have power for their world. Okay, sweet. And there was also with
Inside Out, which I literally just watched like last night. Pretty much, basically your emotions and helps you process and stuff.
And with his with later movies, they would get a bit more deeper in thematics and philosophy and feelings and stuff like that. I believe his next one was Up, which is still one of the most highly praised Pixar movies to this day.
Up came out in 2009, so I think it was like Monsters Inc., then Up, then Inside Out, and now Soul.
Yeah, I love Up as a child. I used to love Up, and the 15 minutes of Up, everyone says is a masterpiece, but I do enjoy Up. It was one of my favorite childhood movies, but you want to know something that actually does connect Up from Soul? Remember when that little kid Russell said, "I think it's the boring stuff that I remember the most."
Yeah.
And that's direct in the Soul, where all the stuff the simple stuff, that's what the most stuff matters.
Oh yeah, well observed.
Okay, so like the first two Toy Story movies. Sorry, my dogs are whining. The first two Toy Story movies were directed by John Lasseter, and then Lee Erkran, yeah, he did Toy Story 3. Still trying to figure out who did Toy Story 4. Maybe it was Lee. I'm gonna double check here. Oh no, Josh Cooley did the 4th Toy Story. So John Lasseter did the first 2, Lee Erkran did number 3, and then Josh Cooley did 4.
Yeah, so Pixar, as we all know, is that beloved side animation company who's almost as big as Disney themselves, and they've made stories that focus a lot on character, focus a lot on scenarios which are somewhat mundane, but adding a little twist to it, whether it be superheroes getting accustomed to contemporary life, rats.
Which is based off of Watchmen. We all know it. It's Watchmen. It's basically Watchmen.
We all know Incredibles is the only Fantastic Four movie we'll ever get.
And it's also Watchmen.
Yeah. After they've had their ups and downs, but
Cars 2.
Yeah, Cars 2. Yeah.
But it's amazing.
Mater is still a freaking idiot.
I mean, I have my ups and downs with like Brave. I like it, but it was very misleading. but I
yeah, it became. I heard it became
then I
Brother
don't
Bear.
like
It basically became Brother Bear.
Yeah.
More like Mother Bear.
Yes. As a Scotsman myself, I really appreciate their attention to detail with the lore and the culture there. They did a great job with that, and trust me, they did. But yeah,
Merida's usually hooked up with Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon for several reasons.
But
that we already discussed back in the Rise of the Guardians video. Oh, speaking of which, Happy New Year, everybody! I totally forgot. No, my parents are going in and out the door. It's okay.
But I have one thing to say to Cal. I really wish there was more like Scottish movies, like, you know, from you. There's always Irish or like always Japanese, always American, always like. But there's not a lot of like Scottish.
There's some British stuff too.
Don't
forget about the British.
Never underestimate the power of the historically inaccurate Mel Gibson film Braveheart. That's done Scotland a big service, don't you know? And I would also recommend
Braveheart.
I would also recommend Gregory's Girl and Local Hero, but Scottish film.
Charisse hasn't seen Braveheart. Oh no, those are one of the best movies of all time. How dare you not see Braveheart, you Disney fanatic idiot!
Anyway, we're beginning to get a little bit off topic. The point is, we love Pixar. Everybody loves themselves in Pixar. They've had their ups and downs, and their latest film to come out and get teased is Pixar's Soul, directed once again by Pete Docter.
When I first saw the trailer, like a lot of people, including myself, thought, yeah, Pixar was kind of losing their edge. They're kind of losing, like, what is this exactly? What is this? But man, did this movie blew our expectations out of the water.
Yeah, so one thing that everyone noticed from the trailers immediately, and you'd expect this sort of thing from watching trailers, the film looks gorgeous, but you expect that with Pixar perfecting their craft.
Okay, so I don't see the gorgeousness in the human world. I see more the gorgeousness in the soul world with the abstract constructs and, you know, and, like the literal like peace loving like pirate ship or like the lost souls or like but with the human world, I feel like it's almost like it's like our world. It looks just like our world, and that's what I'm kind of losing it with Pixar. They try to, it's with The Good Dinosaur, they try to make it look photorealistic, and now it's with Soul. It's another photorealistic. I don't want CGI animation just to become another form of photorealism with some animated characters in there.
Well, you gotta give them credit, though. I like the distinction of each character of the humans. You know, like they're having like a pear-shaped head.
It's the external world around them. It's the world around them. It's not the humans themselves, or maybe even the textures on them. It's the world they live in. It doesn't even. It looks close. It looks so similar to our world. And I don't want to be. I don't like what Genny Tarkovsky, who made Samurai Jack, said. I don't want to mimic reality. I want to push reality.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, just so everybody knows, Brooks here is quite passionate about animation, and he's specifically passionate about abstract expression within what animation is capable of. And you've expressed that photorealism can get in the way of that. I mean, we've certainly seen that, unfortunately, with films like the recent incarnation of The Lion King. Yes, at worst, we get expressionless depictions.
Aslan, I said this before and I'll say it again. Aslan from Chronicles of Narnia had more expression, and I know they're like, but they're real like lions and stuff, but like Come on, it's okay to be a little bit cartoony.
Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing, especially when real animals are more expressive than the animals in that line.
How does freaking Chronicles of Narnia
Long
back in
live the king!
2005
But this
when
how
they
Scar
have
does it
more
in your
expression
Long
than
live
the entire
the
cast
king!
of Lion King?
Long live the original Lion
I'm
King,
not blaming
yes.
the actors. I'm not blaming the actors because they did good. It's just the way that their characters have to express themselves. They look like they have no expression. Like what?
Yeah.
The heck?
So the point being is that at worst, photorealism can drag us into the uncanny valley. But at best, photorealism can be combined with other techniques like stylized character designs, like with The Adventures of Tintin. And it can make for something really immersive if
What
done
about
correctly.
Ringo?
I'll give you another example for Frozen 2 with the teaser where you see Elsa and gets the waves. That actually looked really real with like the waves and stuff before she starts running over towards it. That's kind of like what I like about that too. I thought that was really cool.
And I think Soul actually manages to, from the get-go, manages to combine two distinctly different animation styles to really enhance the storytelling. The
But wait, you
photorealism.
forgot to. I want to say something about when we were talking about photorealism. What about Rango? Because that was
Yeah,
photorealistic
Rango is
too.
also a good example. But with Soul, the photorealism is often used for the complexities of the living world, but then it gets more abstract and dreamy, and for lack of a better word, otherworldly when it comes to the cosmic realm of the soul, and it works
More like
immensely.
the astral plane. It's more like an
It's
astral
engaging.
plane. It's like an astral plane.
Yeah, and I mean, I know because you know Pete Docter did Inside Out. I got a lot of Inside Out vibes, especially in like the soul world. I was like, oh, this is so cute. Imagine they actually did a crossover with the emotions from Inside Out and like the souls. I
In
think
fact,
that's
I've
really
heard
cute.
some people say that this is a mixture between Inside Out and Coco. It's like
Yeah, I see Coco too. Yeah.
interesting that a lot of Pixar's best films involve you dying and confronting depression and stuff like that.
But the story doesn't confront depression. Like,
yeah, that's generally joking around.
I'm done.
Also, I just wanted to briefly mention this comment we got from Kneale saying, and I quote, "I liked Soul a lot, but I think the main reason I liked it so much is because Picard hasn't been doing so great lately, and this feels like a big step in the right direction. I'd probably give it a low 7 out of 10 when it's time to rank." And we'll
I
talk
think
about
he
that.
means Pixar. I think that's what he's trying to say. Not
What
Picard.
does
He meant to say
Picard have to do with Pixar?
No. I think typing
but
and then yeah. You know how you type something and then like the the internet trying to just changes the word that you're typing even though you spelled it correctly, or
Yeah.
it's kind of like with my name. My name, it keeps saying it's wrong, but that's how you spell my name. It's weird. I don't know. I don't care.
What's your name? Say it louder. Anyway, so I guess let's get started with what we think about Soul, and just a heads up, for the vast majority of this portion of the video, we will do our best to not spoil what happens, but later on, we will be giving out heavy spoilers for what happens in the latter half of the movie. So
you have been warned. There should
You
be
have
a
been warned,
timestamp.
all of you. You have been warned.
There should be a timestamp to let you guys know when we're going to talk about spoilers. So if you haven't seen Soul, first of all, you should. I mean, come on. And just give you guys a heads up. Just saying, you've been warned. Anyways.
Okay. So, where does one get started? This is the story about. In fact, let me tell you a fun fact. This is not the first time Jamie Foxx has played a musician. He's also played as a musician in the film called The Soloist, which also featured, get this, Robert Downey Jr.
What?
Yeah, fun fact. So, back to the movie. Jamie Foxx plays as this middle grade teacher named Joe Gardner. And he is doing a job of teaching his students how to play music. Music is his passion, especially for jazz soul music. although he has more of a passion for jazz soul music than he does for his actual job, which he has recently gained full payment for. And he is helping out the students.
FYI, I had no idea that was Jamie Foxx or Tina Fey was even in this movie. I had no idea that was even their voices.
I mean, I knew it was Jamie Foxx mainly because I watched like his game show Beat Shazam, so I hear him talking all the time in that game show, so I already knew it was him. But for some reason, I thought it was Amy Poehler. I was like, oh, she was Joy in Inside Out, but it was actually her friend Tina Fey, because Amy Poehler and Tina Fey are real friends in real life. So.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Talk about getting along well with Pete Docter. So essentially, it's interesting that you mentioned celebrity voices, because that's usually, for the vast majority of movies, especially nowadays, kind of a complaint that people have, thinking, oh, they're not even trying to make original characters. They're just making caricatures of these celebrities.
That's what I really love. I love voice actors so much. I have 100, I'm kidding you not, I have 100 pic collages of voice actors. And I really love them. And I think we don't give voice actors enough credit.
I have one question.
Like Terrace Strong, Rob Paulson, Tom Kenny, Richard Horvitz, Gray Delisle, Jim Cummings. Like, come on, guys.
Shout out to our friend Bailey.
I swear. Continue, Brooks. You're saying?
I have one question. Do you have Mark Hamill?
Oh, yes, I do have Mark Hamill. I also have Tim Curry.
Oh, yes. But as we all know, we all love Tim Curry. Happy New Year, by the way. Anyway.
Liz, I love you.
It's amazing that these voices, even though they're celebrities in films like this, they perfectly fit the characters they play, especially with how they're written. You're so immersed that you don't really care, or at best don't even recognize that they are celebrities. You think, okay, that's the character. That's what they sound like. Their voices fit the characters. I'm immersed. Let's see where the story goes. So well done to the voice.
I know what some people say, that they don't like how the actors are kind of modeled with like the character, but I actually think it's really cool. It kind of reminds me of like what Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson did with like Moana as Maui. They even got his little eyebrow and his little what's the man's part?
And actually, the kind of I don't like that, because this isn't live action where you're as a live action character playing a character.
I mean, I see it more as like as a reference than actual, but I get your point though.
But guess what? Here's the thing. I lost my train of thought. And by the way, okay, you continue until I get my train of thought back.
Yeah, I hate when that happens. This is the story of Joe Gardner coming to terms with what he should do in life, because his family, he's still living with his mum and some other relatives in their own, knitting?
Should I save this for later about talking about the themes of how, should I say that for later or now?
Oh, his mother. I guess we could. That probably might go into spoilers, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think his mother, I think, is a seamstress because she sews.
Seamstress. Thank you. Thank you. So even though we can clearly see that Joe is not altogether content with getting fully paid for the job, because he wants to find some time to entertain with his jazz, but as we all know, doing passionate entertainment can be a very hard profession indeed. But fortunately, one of his former students, I like how it's one of his former students, that's a really neat detail, invites him over to this place.
Wait, I have one question. Like, did he teach older students, or like, how old exactly is he?
I believe Joe Gardner is said to be 49 years old.
Yeah, I think he's in his like mid to late 40s. Because Curly, that's this former student's name. He knew Joe since he was in middle school, so probably his mid to late 40s. It's probably his age. I'll double check.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with all these details already, there's something I've noticed that Soul is, whilst children can enjoy and laugh at the movie, I've noticed that this is a movie that's catered more towards older people, like especially adults, undoubtedly, maybe even people of Joe's age. So that's very impressive for Pixar to take that.
And this is where this is what I feel like Pixar in like more movies, anime movies especially, should focus on. They should go to PG-13, go to rated R, do a war movie, do like something more complex.
I don't think, because remember, Pixar is owned by Disney, so they're gonna have to kind of figure out how to balance both
Disney is
the
gonna
kids
allow
and
rated
adults.
R
And I
movies
think
on Disney+.
I know, but you're saying like the animation, how they should do PG-13 to rated R and stuff. I'm just saying there should be a compromise for both the kids and the adults. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm just saying there
Because
is.
you don't want like a 6-year-old to be watching a rated R movie.
But you know,
at least not, at least if their parents are around. Still,
no. It's not this. It's not. It's just that here's my problem with like the animation industry as a whole. For both kids shows and kids shows and kids movies and animation, there's an oversaturation of it just being for kids. And also,
I will admit that too.
Yeah, and also kids don't go into rated R movies, so why would they go into rated R animated movies?
I think it's kind of like, and I know you don't like the show, Brooks, but it's kind of like what they did with like Avatar, where they have some adult themes, but they're able to explain it to kids to the point where they have questions they can ask their parents to help them explain what that means without, actually revealing, actually saying it like on point to say what it means.
But I have the one question: why just sugarcoat it, or why just like simplify it so kids can understand? Why do we have to make everything for kids?
Because it all depends on the psychology. You don't want to scar a kid. You want to take it slowly. Maybe you don't want to just like this, like boom, oh my gosh, stuff like that. You want to like do it slowly. Don't throw them in there. Take their time. Let them explain. That's what it's all about.
But here's the thing: when they get to adulthood and they're ready for adult stuff, they're not going to have a lot of anime movies for adults. They're just, if they want to go watch an anime movie for adults, they go to Japan. That's where they're celebrating animated movies for adults. That's where they have Princess Mononoke. That's where they have Akira. That's where they have Berserk. Why can't we have that here in America?
I think it also depends on how everything is civilized. America is different from Japan based on like how things are treated. One thing is treated one way, one treated another thing. I think that's what it's what it's all about.
That's why I'm jealous of Japan. I'm jealous. I wish I lived in Japan. I'm jealous of them. I'm jealous.
Yeah, we can understand. And to be fair, I mean, Japan's also made plenty of children's movies, mainly Studio Ghibli, and yet they don't talk down. They expect the children to grasp a hold of it and just say, here's a situation, here's how the protagonists deal with it.
Or if they don't understand, ask their parents. Because not all kids are going to be able to grasp that idea. Because the mind is still developing. Your mind doesn't develop until like age 25 to 30. That's when your mind is fully developed.
I should note that there are shows out there like Samurai Jack, which rely highly on visual storytelling and a bit more of a mature theme, which doesn't treat any of its audiences, whether old or young, like sugar-coated morons or anything like that. It presents the story, and I like how it does it in a way that children and adults can understand, even with the sound turned off. And the Studio Ghibli movies and some movies like Pixar are finding this balance between teaching the younger generations and sort of enlightening and appealing to the older generations.
And that's what if we can do more stuff like this is where that's great. That's great. But I just want one Akira in America. One Akira, just one Akira. I could just like one day I'm just gonna make it my own independent movie and just do it myself.
Now that would be quite an ambition. Speaking of ambitions, Joe enters the this audition for a gig, and which is led by this lady who plays the saxophone. And here we get an amazingly gorgeous moment of animation where Joe is getting immersed in the moment of playing the piano and is just so immersed in the beauty, the tones, and the order of it. And you see all these colors like the Aurora Borealis, and he's just getting so immersed in it to the point where once he's finished, he's like, ooh, I'm getting a bit carried away, but he gets the gig.
Yep, he goes into the zone, and then he gets, he tells, I don't know who he's talking to on the phone. I don't think, it's not, I know it's not his mom, but he talks on the phone, he's like, oh my gosh, I got the gig, and then he falls right through a hole. And that's where the movie, title card starts. Ta-da!
Yeah, that would have been a short movie. What an unexpected turn. Kind of grim. The main character gets what he dreams of, and he dies. Literally falls, and the next thing we see, his soul is fallen flat onto this astral plane, which is kind of like an elevator stair, and his spirit is on its way to heaven, the great beyond. But he's insisting, hang on, wait a minute. No, wait. No. I'm not ready for this. I've got a gig. I finally got a gig. I need to get back. But obviously, that's where the conflict of the movie comes in. He's dead and he's on his way to the afterlife. But how is he going to get back now that he's in that state? And so many others see that have obviously died and are transcending, or just on their way to
Wait, I have a question. Wait. Would it be to heaven or hell? Like, is it all? Or is
we don't know. That's why it's
good
called the Great. That's why it's called the Great Beyond. They don't. They kind of briefly mention it, but we don't know for sure. It just.
And keep in mind, I understand that this movie is reaching out to quite a broad audience, and later they show a wide variety of souls from differing beliefs. So I can only assume that they're differing to a large crowd. But whatever the case may be, Joe is conflicted on going to the great beyond, so he tries to make a run for it, and he squeezes through this cosmic wall, which causes him to fall. Cue the titles and these wonderfully abstract images of him falling.
I know, and also goes through
it kind of reminds me.
Strings.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like some scenes with Inside Out. Like I remember, there's a scene in Inside Out because I watched it yesterday where like joy, sadness, and Bing Bong go through that shortcut, and they're kind of like in like 3-dimensional and 2-dimensional.
No, actually, that's the abstract constructs. That's where abstract, they go in abstract forms.
And is it just me, or did I see hints of either specialized lighting or 2D animation to indicate the strangeness that he's going through?
Yeah, it's a beautiful blend, and that's where I really can go. And also, when he gets to like the great before, I feel like all these Jerrys, like these like physical constructs of the entire universe, like I think maybe like they're like basically like the rules of the universe, like the laws of the universe. And I feel like I love the abstract design of it, and it looks very 2-dimensional.
Yeah, and basically they say that we are these cosmic universal beings that are just beyond your comprehension. So we're literally having to form ourselves into ways that you can actually comprehend us. Just these,
but more an abstract construct that can be understand.
They could form themselves into anything they like. As far as we know, they could like span across like entire rooms like that, but they've just morphed themselves into recognizable beings. And yes, as you said before, Joe finds himself in this cosmic plane of existence, which is not the great afterlife, but it's actually the great before. This is where souls are created, and they have to attain attributes of their personality.
But here's the thing, that personalities you don't get them when they're born. This is all the personality traits you're going to go through when you become alive. This is all the personality traits, like when you'll find them when you become alive.
It's kind of like learning how to drive a car or something some kind of formal education or something like that. Basically, these unborn souls are guided by these astral beings, and they have to fulfill all the traits or sort of merits, kind of like earning a scout badge or something. And when they have all of them ready, they get an Earth pass, and they have to jump into this void to go to Earth so that they can be born, live life, and then go to the afterlife. So Joe, seeing this void, thinks, easy. Tries to jump in, but he ends up back into the Great Four. This is because he doesn't have the Earth pass, and the astral beings have mistaken him for what people refer to as a mentor. Mentors are souls who have lived their lives in Earth and have come to educate the unborn souls on how to attain the personalities. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The reason I'm explaining this to you is because in order to fully grasp the beauty and artistic depiction of these creative ideas is because it needs to be explained in order to fully understand it. And in many sense, you have to experience the film for yourself, because chances are, if you just jump in at a random point, it might not even make sense. It's kind of like trying to explain The Matrix to someone who hasn't seen the film The Matrix. It's going to be confusing to explain. But maybe you could explain it if you're gifted with words, but this is an experience that you kind of have to sort of see and be immersed in order to fully appreciate what it is that they're trying to say.
So after Joe Gardner tries and fails to get the Earth Pass, he finds this like missing soul, like the soul that can't, like, that is too stubborn or too apathetic to go to live. So he's paired up with this soul as a mentor, but then actually it's not even gender, that her voice actually is just an illusion. She's using this voice to annoy people, and even though it might not be even a real voice, it's a voice that she chose, and that when she finds out that he's not even the real mentor, that they form like a pact or like a bond, that if I get you it's a lot of these movies do this kind of thing when these two characters have like a common thing, they usually do something together. I feel like Pixar, like, or other anime movies have done this before, except for How to Train Your Dragon and The Prince of Egypt.
Yes, so this is where Tina Fey comes in. She is the secondary important character to this movie, and yes, 22. She is referred to. She has a longer number than that, but it's shortened down to number 22. They are taken through this place where the souls get their education and such, and they learn about each other, and Joe is trying to figure out how to get back, and it's kind of interesting that Joe wants to live, but 22 doesn't want to live. There's a lot you could read into that, and Joe thinks,
here's the thing. I have one thing to say, that in real life, a lot of people can be apathetic to live, and a lot of people don't even want to live and see the meaningless in life and why do we have to live it. And also sometimes that can go to nihilism. And even when 22 was in the fire station, when she was putting out the fire, she wanted to see it burn more. That's the gateway to nihilism.
Yes, and that can be a very, very dangerous trope to have, because nihilism, and which also relates to apathy, even though nihilism is a very, very extreme form of apathy, it can be a very dangerous form of just not caring about life. But obviously 22 is going to change it, but for the time being, it just happens that Joe is trying, out of the bottom of his heart and his desire to get back, is trying to help 22 find just that right trait that can make her worthy of getting that Earth pass so she can be born. But no matter what they try with things like the cooking, the gymnastics, even though she's good at that, even the firefighting, just this whole training course where she does it, she kind of goes, and according to her, she's been doing it for thousands of years, and nothing appears to be doing the trick. Odd.
Here's why. It's because, sorry,
By all means, keep going.
he's stuck in this illusion of a place that's not even real. Well, it's not real, but it's real, but it's filled with real things in it, but it's not real. It's not actual experience of living, being on Earth. So that's why she is so like not able to understand what's the point of it if all this is just fake. And that's why she sees what that illusion place is. That's what she sees life as fake. That's what she sees everything as fake. And that's what when she gets to the real world, when she feels real things, she changes a bit.
I think this is the part where we're going to go into spoilers. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, you have been warned. This is the point. This is the point of no return. My voice. This is the point of no return. There we go.
But don't forget, as Chester A. Bum says, spoilers.
Yes.
As Chester A. Bum says, spoilers.
You've been warned.
Sorry if I repeated that. I just had to get my face in there.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're gonna talk about spoilers. Click away. You don't want to listen. Click away.
Or go see this movie already.
That too.
Please.
So, as Joe and 22 are discussing about what's worth living for and what's the right trait to live by, we have this one cosmic being who's referred to as Jerry, I believe, whose job is to count the souls who reach the great...
That's not Jerry. Jerry's the keeper of the souls, the one who guides the souls to to get their pass.
Oh, you mean Terry? You're talking about Terry, not Jerry.
Terry. I keep
Terry's
the names.
Terry's a little short, petite one that's doing like calculus or whatever on that bean thing.
People who reach the great beyond.
He's the accountant. He's the accountant. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But of course, since Joe tried to escape and reach the great before, Terry has noticed something off. He's noticed that there's one missing, so he goes to this ridiculously big library to see which one is.
There's been actually infinite souls on planet Earth, so yeah, there's been infinite souls on.
Yeah, so. That's just the way it is. It's vast. It's big. That what would you expect? Is infinite souls. What would you expect? Yeah. So just keep that in mind. This is kind of important for later. And I suppose on that note, there's something I really appreciate about this movie. There's no villains here. Even Terry is not necessarily a bad guy. Just someone who's just doing his job, and people are just interfering with his work. It's kind of like a cranky policeman just trying to stop these people. He's not being evil. He's just doing his job, just doing his duty. So,
okay, I have one thing. Good versus evil is a very important thing for adults and children to understand. But for once in a while, once in for life, sometimes you don't need heroes or villains. Just people in situations, or people in these, or to just experience life. People trying to learn how to experience life.
Yeah, and
you really don't need a villain for that. There's no villain for that.
Yeah,
except apathy. That's the real villain. Actually, the real villain of that is the lost soul, of becoming a lost soul and becoming apathetic.
Are you saying that 22 could potentially be the real villain of the movie?
No. She's not the villain. It's just that what is the villain of it, the cause of all evil or badness in it, is what she becomes and what is consuming her.
Right. Speaking of what he becomes later on, 22 guides Joe through a little secret path, which takes them into this place called the Zone. In this place, we see souls who are actually connected to, who are actually in the physical living world, but they're getting immersed in what they're so passionate and desiring about, so much so that their souls sort of transcend between the physical and the spiritual, and we actually see their souls in this floating in the zone, and we get this funny joke where 22 messes with what they're doing by tossing rocks at them, and this actress, she tosses one of her actress, she forgets her line in the real world, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think that it's time for Sharice to, talk about it. I think that me and you have been talking about it. I think it's time to give the lady a turn.
That's a fair point, yes. Sherry?
Oh, I had to move location. That's why I haven't really been talking that much. I've been listening to you guys. Luckily, that's why I had to move location. You guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I had to move on to my iPad. I'll just keep it short and simple. Moonwing, Moon. Blah. I can't remember the dude's name. The hippie dude. I'm pretty sure it's Moonwind or something. It sounds weird.
Let's call him hippie.
The hippie dude. I love hippie dude. Yeah, the hippie dude is on the ship, and like he has like his friends who are also, I don't know if I want to call them hippies, but they kind of have like that spiritual, aesthetic or whatever. And they show Joe how they get that apathetic soul to realize his purpose, and then they get him back into their bodies, I guess, whatever. And Joe being the impatient one wants to just go back to his body. So the way that he had to do it was to kind of like meditate and imagine himself and find out where he is. And he finds out that he is in the hospital. And like I said, he's very impatient. He just wants to get back into his body so he can do this gig with Dorothea Williams. And he kind of drags 22 along, and well, funny moment. Joe thinks he's in Joe thinks he's in his body, but he's in the cat. And 22 is Joe.
Yeah, it's funny, but here's the thing. Some people, like I at first was turned off by this, but as the film goes on, it actually does work out.
So yes, for the time being, the two characters have to work together. 22 has to get a sort of a first glimpse of what it is to control a human body, and Joe is stuck in a cat.
It's so funny. He's like, "What? I have paws," and like they're just both freaking out. She's like, and she's like, "I'm in a body. It feels disgusting. What am I doing here? I want to get out of this body. It's gross."
Meat fingers. This. They both have interesting interactions. Like first time in feeling sensations like Joe feeling the warmth of the sun as a cat, and because of the way that everything's working, whenever people hear Joe, they're not hearing 22's voice, which is very cleverly sort of structured to the audience. But whenever they try to hear Joe as the cat, they just hear the cat. So they think Joe's just sort of this madman just wandering around with this cat, when in reality it's just 22 and Joe stuck in the cat and Joe. Cat and Joe, Cotton Eye Joe, where did you come from? Where did you go? They fell into a cat and a Joe.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So kind of must have been a surreal near-death experience for Joe. So they get out in very awkward fashion, with 22 just learning, quite literally learning how to walk.
Oh yeah, because she said she failed her body test like 436 times, which probably No, I think SpongeBob failed more of his driving test than 22 did with her body test. Never mind.
Her walking would make the Ministry of Silly Walks proud. So essentially, they escape the hospital, and Joe, stuck in the cat, has to find a way to get the bodies to switch back, and their first priority is to find wherever the hippies were, because the hippies mentioned that they're actually in New York as we speak. So, as mentioned before, the way that people in the physical living world have to get into the soul world in this movie is that they do what they love so much that they sort of get into that sort of transcendent place between the spiritual and the physical. So that means if we see a living person in the soul realm, that means they're doing something that they love. What is Moon doing? What is Moon Hippie doing, rather? He's dancing and twisting around this like sponsor sign or something. And he has to be tapped in order to be brought back to the physical world, and kind of looks funny even in the physical world. And he recognizes that Joe and 22 have switched bodies in the cat, and Joe, etc. So he tries to get everybody to help, but he says, "Sorry, I can't quite do it at the moment. This is the wrong time, and you need to come back in several hours in order to get it right." What was it they said exactly?
No. He said that, "I'm sorry, but another guy got the gig, but there is the chance that..."
Oh, sorry, I was talking about the hippies, but that's actually a good point, actually. Yes, Joe and 22 receive a phone call that Joe has pretty much lost the gig to another guy who's also talented at the piano. So they're both in a bit of stress. What are they going to do?
But here's the thing, that he has one last chance to come get the gig before to get her to change her mind.
So whilst they're waiting for the hippies to get the right time to get them back in the zone, as they have to somehow get Joe back in the gig, but of course 22 is in Joe now, and so they head back to the apartment to learn some very basics. But on the way, we begin to get some character development on 22's part. Namely, she's starting to experience the small things, and we see over time that 22 may have a special trait of really appreciating the little things that a lot of people often take for granted. The first thing that happens is the smell of pizza. Joe, being cat, has to drag a pizza slice to her. So 22, in Joe's body, eats the pizza, and she likes it. She genuinely likes the pizza. So they move on and to the apartment, but they get a formal suit. They wash up, only for they go to the barber's because they mess up with the haircut. And 20. Oh, actually, I missed a part. There's a scene where 22 keeps interfering with Joe's daily life by saying some really apathetic things. Like, one of Joe's students who loves the trombone comes back and is considering quitting. 22 says some pretty discouraging things. But fortunately, the conversation does actually get better, and the girl plays the trombone, and in a really strange scenario, the girl is encouraged by 22 in Joe's body to continue playing the trombone again.
But here's what I can explain. Here's the thing. She wanted to quit because she feel like no one actually believed in her. She feel like she doesn't know what to do with it. But that Joe actually, or 22 actually wanted to talk to her, wanted to hear her play personally. That gave her someone who believed in her and someone think that she could still do it. And also even Joe said she loves to play the trombone or whatever it's called, but she doesn't always have the confidence to play it. And also, she feels like school is like bringing her down, and it brings a lot of people down. But I've learned a lot of things. School can bring you down. It can make you like miserable. It can be a waste of time. But here's the truth of it. I've learned that school, you can learn something from it, even though it's not the way that you learn it that is good, or fun or enjoyable, but it's that you learn it to begin with that matters. It's that you learned it, even though it's hard, even because life can be hard and life can be that the hard way, but as long as you make it through so you can start your life. And even if your life, even what you want to do with your life, you don't even learn from school, you could still learn a thing or two from school. Even school can be your enemy, but it's more like a challenger. It's a challenger that challenges you as an enemy. But if you beat it, if you beat the crap out of it and win, then you can earn yourself your life.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say, like, oh, math sucks. Oh, why are we reading Shakespeare? What does Shakespeare have to do with the real world? But it's not just like, well, yeah, math is important. You have to learn how to read. But you also have to learn about critical thinking and all those other essential skills to be prepared for the real world. That's why school is important. Yeah, I don't want to do calculus. Yeah, I don't want to read about Shakespeare. Why am I doing physics? What's the entire point of doing history and government? But there's some parts in each subject that correlate into those skills that you need to survive. You need to learn how to think critically. You need to think on your feet. You have to learn how to adapt, because when the unexpected happens, you need to be prepared. Whether you want to be prepared or not, whether you are ready or not, you need to be prepared. You need to take action. You need to strategize. You always need to have a plan B, C, D, whatever, in order to succeed. That's why we have school.
Yeah, but I have one
That's
thing to say.
That's what I go to school for.
I have one thing to say. There are websites, online websites, where they teach you stuff, and you can have fun learning them. You can actually have fun. And I don't understand why school is not like that, where you can have fun. But sometimes you want to know something. I do sometimes have fun learning at school. I had fun learning religion or history or talking with my teachers about stuff. I had fun with that. But I just hated how it's structured and what place we live in. It felt like a prison. It felt like we were living in a prison. Like we were living in like a big solitude place where nothing, like it felt soulless and empty.
It's like me, because right now I'm in college, and I also think it also depends on the professor and how they teach the class. So right now I'm in college, and I just finished doing like anatomy and physiology. My professor was strict, but he was funny as heck. He would always make a joke like every 10 seconds to get us, engaged in something. Like for example, I had to learn about like the digestive system and like the pancreas and stuff, which regulates blood sugar. Yes, I'm talking, anatomy stuff because I'm in nursing. But he gave me a song that would help me remember the Archie's Sugar Sugar. Yeah, sugar dun 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 dun. Oh, honey, honey, dun, dun. That song helped me understand how that organ worked in the body. There's other ways that you can find ways to, because it's not always, hey, you have to study this, you have to look at this, because studying's good, but don't do too much studying, and there's the other ways to learn. You can learn visually, you can learn auditory with your hearing, or you can do tactile, which is where you actually use your hands to touch, and you can see how you can pick it up that way. We all have different ways to learn. It's how you find a way to make it more fun that will help you succeed in life. So yeah, take that.
And as Mary Poppins would say, snap, the job becomes a game. So yes,
school was never a game for me. I hated every minute of it, but I beat the shit out of it and I won.
Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you the younger generations who complain about school. For your pleasure, everybody. I'm thinking about this girl who's playing the trombone, and I think to myself, maybe we could have had a few more scenes. Pardon?
Her name is Connie.
Connie, thank you. I'm thinking to myself, maybe we could have done it with a few more scenes of Connie, but then looking back in the movie, actually, I think we got enough of Connie to make part of the point that this film is trying to address about how Joe Gardner has a purpose to his life and how he impacts others, and how he and 22 are appreciating the gift that is life. So yes, I was thinking about that with the majority of characters.
I get it. Like, people have big ambitions for like their life, big ambitions. I have big ambitions, but just to play or to think or to write or just to do something with your mind, the little small thing of doing that
together
is enjoying what is not it's it but it's just that doing that is what is to enjoy or like to have a conversation or to or to do any small thing or like to even watch a movie or like to have a connection between a movie or to like to see how life or that art can imitate reality, how a character can be just like you. When people say they wish the character can be real, well, guess what? Sometimes the character can be real and they can be you. And you have to enjoy that small thing about that connection, that small when you find you in that art, you have to enjoy that connection and embrace it.
That's not too similar. That's actually fairly similar to the concept of the zone in this movie, actually. So after Joe / 22's encounter with Connie, they try to get ready, but they accidentally mess up his hair, prompting him to visit his friend at the barber's. And they don't mind the cat being with Joe, or they don't mind Joe being with 22. So, interestingly enough, they establish in this conversation that Joe would constantly talk about jazz, but 22, being of an entirely different perspective, is talking about some other personal complaints, which everyone else in the shop is quite fascinated by. Which is kind of funny as well as kind of insightful, because the barber himself talks about his own dreams and ambitions. And as they leave the shop, Joe and the cat says,
wait, I have one thing to say. What she was talking about, it was like, what is life meaning? What is, we just live and die? What is the point of it? And like, I feel like it's interesting as it is, or still her apathetic nature, and why people shouldn't be listening towards that is because that's apathy. It's still the apathetic nature. It's fascinating to know about all the constructs of the universe and how thinking all of it can be meaningless and pointless, and all of it just, why do it anyway? But this whole movie just turns that around and shows you why it should.
Well spoken, Brooks. Well spoken. All that, and 22's found a new love for lollipops.
Yeah, lollipops and pizza.
Not bad. Not a bad thing to love. Lollipops and pizza. Should we endorse that to the kiddies? Indulge in pizzas and lollipops.
Well, enjoy the simple things. Actually, like Rule 32 in Zombieland. Enjoy the simple things. Enjoy the little things.
Yeah.
Like a Twinkie. Like a Twinkie.
Except for maybe that one jerk who was saying a few mean-spirited things before having to leave the cafe.
But here's like her where like her apathetic, like, actually got to him, like that he's just a guy who's too insecure about himself, and that only makes people feel bad, make himself feel good.
Right. It's interesting that Joe is kind of desperate, but I'm still willing to listen to a lot of people or other souls in that matter. So this is where we actually get back to Terry. Terry has finished looking up the millions and millions upon billions of souls, and has finally found the file.
Trillions and quadrillions and like quantillions or like infinite.
Yeah. Finally finds the files for Joe Gardner and pieces together that he's the one who escaped the access to the great beyond.
And here's the thing. The Jerrys are like, I think they're trying to give Joe a second chance. Well, Terry is being the person, he's like, no, he's cheated. He shouldn't deserve a second chance.
Yeah, as mentioned before, Terry's not really a villain. He's just doing his job. So he has the right to point these out. And he is mathematically accurate, even to the point of pointing out the amount of times one Jerry blinked. Knowing that Joe and 22 have gone missing, Terry said,
Wait,
all right,
what do you mean
I'm going
Jerry
down there.
blinked? One Jerry blinked?
One Jerry blinked 6 times, I think. Terry's saying, okay, I'm going to go down to the void, and I'm going to catch them, but he can't be seen. At first I was going to think, oh, cool, what's he going to look like when he reaches the Earth? So at the one point, it would have been...
Pause. What do you mean by Jerry blinked?
Terry counts the amount of times that Jerry blinked before having to go down to... Yeah. So Terry goes down to Earth on the mission to catch Joe. I was, on the one hand, a little disappointed that we don't see him come into this sort of like Agent Smith kind of form, but on the other hand, we get this really cool imagery of Terry like surfing along the pipes. That's just this abstract line of light. He goes into the maps, and you see his face sort of form and talk, and then he's hiding behind the walls. It's really creatively done, and he's sneaking up on...
I love every single bit of it.
Yeah, it's really cleverly done. He catches up with someone who looks like Joe. He catches him, gets his soul out. How dare you defend... Oh wait, but it's actually the jerk from the barber, and Terry basically, again, the name's mixed up. Terry basically warns him, don't eat saturated foods. What we learned, kids, you can eat your pizzas, you can eat your lollipops, but you must not eat crisps. They shall be the bane of your existence.
Oh, well, right now I'm eating pistachios, so I should be okay.
Pistachios, yeah. Eat your pistachios, kids.
So I can't eat Doritos?
No, otherwise Terry will catch you.
I don't know. Oh boy.
I don't know who you are. I don't know. Actually, I do know who you are. I will look for you. I will find you, and I will bring you back to the great before.
Anyway,
actually, it's the great beyond.
The great beyond, rather. Yeah.
Sorry, you got the great before, then you got the entire life, and then you got the great beyond.
I keep mixing these things up. They sound kind of familiar.
Going into the unknown.
It's into the great before. The great beyond. Into the great beyond. Look at me. I'm twisting the tongue. It's like trying to read Fox and Socks. I keep mixing it up, and in my mind it makes sense, but trying to say it, words are not working for mouth today.
Clearly.
Clearly.
We all have our moments. It's okay.
Joe and 22 come across a subway location. 22 gets to get carried away with the wind from the subway train, and accidentally rips her trousers. So 22 and Joe have to do possibly their most personally toughest task yet. They have to confront the mother. Ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum.
Dun, dun, dun. That was the Kurtz reference, by the way.
So yes, this is the part where Joe has to confront the mother, who finds out that Joe is doing the gig, or at least attempting to do the gig at that special music place. We start off with a funny scene where Joe says, "Okay, I usually give this lady a kiss. Okay, just give her a kiss. Not that forceful." And then the lady says, "Oh, keep the kisses coming, darling." I think, yeah, that's something a family would say.
Can I have a turn explaining?
Yes.
Okay, so 22 in Joe's body goes to his mother, and of course she's not good with, she more cares about him being a music teacher, because that actually leads him that he has a secure life, that he has like benefits that he has. But what Joe, and this is what Joe is talking from, what Joe is telling 22 to say, and that if he can't do this, then his life would amount to nothing. If he doesn't do what he wants to do, what he's passionate to do, if he doesn't want to do, like, if he can't do it, if he's just gonna live this life as a teacher, and he feels like that he's done nothing with his life. But here's the thing: if you're really so focused on trying to do something big and grand, and you miss what some of the things that you're missing. You miss some of the things you're missing. And if you die, and he said, even if I die today, then my life would amount to nothing. Like, if any of us die, if worst comes to worst, if any of us die like any day this year or in the next decade or anyone, if we plan on something big and always just focusing on that and focus on nothing else and not just be happy and live, well, I'd rather die. We can die. We should try to, if we die today, we should just try and die happy. And that's why 2020 was just a hard year, because none of us wanted to die sad. Because a lot of people died sad that year. And that's what's so bad about that. And that, but this year at least, maybe people can die happy. Or maybe in the future, people can die happy.
Wow, this is, woo, we're getting into the deep end now with the...
This movie does that too.
Yeah, it's amazing how often Pixar in general, especially in recent years, has just dived into the deep end, even with some of their lesser movies.
I can't wait for the future.
Oh yeah, and
Where
from
they
a
gonna tackle
filmmaking
next? God.
Hey, that would be great. So
I think that might be a little too risky. I'm just saying that might be a little.
Well, I mean, they were already taking risks by literally having Mother Teresa and Muhammad Ali make cameo appearances as Soul 22 bothers them, so...
I mean, I know, I'm just saying that might be a little bit risky, because not everyone...
I mean, I pointed out
just
in my own review...
I want to be careful with our words here, guys.
Don't worry, sure, I will. I've certainly learned that the hard way, but... There's this one joke with Mother Teresa saying, "I care for every single soul 22 bothers her, except for you." Wow! What a way to depict one of the most caring people in history! I care about every soul except for you? Like, wow! That's like if Abraham Lincoln said, "I care about every single slave except for you, Jim. Stuff you, Jim." That's like, wow! I mean, I get it's a joke, but it's a bit mean-spirited representation. Yikes.
Okay, so his mother is touched by his words and decides to help him with his suit, and he looks great. And then later, as they both both 22 and Joe are on their way, like 22 catches, like, what are they called again?
These little seed pods.
Yeah, like
what
that, leaf thing, the leaf thingy. What? Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They're little helicopter seed pods. They're like specifically designed to let's just float down to the ground like helicopter wings. So it just sort of is down.
and then she experienced that a little small thing and enjoyed it and wanted to know what his purpose could be on this planet, what she could do on this planet, and she wanted to experience more of it. She wanted to experience, but Joe wanted to get back in his body, and then they had an argument on it, and then they both ran off until Terry caught them, and then caught both their bodies, and then they both had an argument about it in the Great Before, and then he's like, no, Joe, you cheated, man. And also 22 got her Earth pass because she found out that she doesn't realize it. She found out that she found her purpose is to live. And that's exactly what Jerry says to Joe. All your mentors with such big ambitions and all your stuff. And so basic. When your Earth pass doesn't mean your purpose, it means you're ready to live.
Oh, so that's what they were on about. I thought they were being a bit mean when they were said, "Oh, meaning of life." Poppycock. But I suppose some of the characters were mentioning that various times. Like in that scene where 22 is catching the seed pod, I think Joe himself says that, oh, no, that the seed pod thing isn't necessarily the same thing as purpose as such, but I suppose you've just made me aware of something, Brooks. So thank you. That Joe might have gotten carried away with his ambition so much that he overlooked just the little things that he should be thankful for, and 22 just couldn't see the whole point of it until she actually got to experience it for herself. And that scene is really beautiful because I really love it as a filmmaker whenever they get the chance to slow down, let you breathe, and just let you see what's happening, and just let it speak for itself. All the thoughts, all the things that it's trying to depict. It's really a wonderful moment, and as well as a brilliantly creative scene where, yes, 22 and Joe's body tries to run away. Joe and the cat's body briefly gets reunited with the owner, but then Terry's like, "Ah, got you now!" And there's this really cool, epic transition where they're running across this sort of subway segment, and with the sort of square aesthetic, it brilliantly transitions to the square neon light that we saw earlier in the Great Before realm. And Joe kind of floats like, whoa, as well as the cat. And then Jared's like, "Ah, got you now." It pulls them both back up. And then, yes, this is where we transition to this scene where 22, even though 22 and Joe have broken the rules, 22, oddly enough, has finally earned her Earth Pass because she finally finds what makes her tick, or what makes her spark, as it were. But she's still just so distraught about living and such that in her turmoil and misunderstanding, she tosses the Earth Pass to Joe, and she wanders off back to this void place. And there was something that we forgot to mention. There's a positive side to the zone where people can be in the moment, and I suppose that actually ties into what you said about Joe earlier, Brooks. So this is actually making a lot more sense talking about it with you two. If you get too carried away with an ambition in a very negative sense, to the point of like an
that you're
unhealthy.
obsessed with it.
Yes.
It's like that's what they were saying. It's like it's good to have ambitions, but you don't want to be too ambitious and get too much into the zone, because then you can become over obsessed with something that you'll lose yourself, and you kind of end up like those little creatures and who are lost souls, as they say. I think that's what you're trying to say.
Yes, people who become too carried away become
and
lost
I felt like
souls.
Here's one thing I want to say. I'm gonna say something personal to everyone. 2012 was the year I became a lost soul. Like, I started transitioning and becoming a lost soul. I was obsessed over this movie called Coraline, and it consumed me, and it scared the shit out of me. And over years and years, it got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until in 2019 I got over it. But at the same time, an even worse happened in 2020. I got obsessed over a new thing, and that is over
Fire Nation,
the
that's what
Disney
he meant to
trilogy,
say.
and
We
I
can't
got obsessed
say that
over
word.
As
We
Far
can't
As
say
Don't
Serious.
worry,
that word.
I'll censor it. Keep going. Don't worry, I'll censor it. Keep going.
I got over, and I hated those two so much, even though I just didn't like. I was obsessed over how much I hated them, and how much they broke my heart, and how much and you people don't understand, but it's all I feel. I feel a different opinion. But when I finally saw this movie, when I finally saw it at the end of the year on New Year's Eve, I cried for the first time in like so long, and I finally wanted to live. I wanted to be not a lost soul anymore.
Oh my. Wow. Wow. That actually ties into something that I've said about this movie in previous days. This movie could not have come out at such a more perfect time in our history. I mean, we've been through like one of the worst years in recent history, and this movie, the moral of this movie is go out and live your life. The way it
Don't
shows
take
it.
life for granted. Don't take life for granted.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Chef.
Life is gonna have ups and downs. You're not gonna have a perfect life. You're gonna face challenges that
And people will die.
You're gonna probably crawl into a hole and cry yourself to sleep, but you gotta find a way to get back up, see the positive things, because there's both positive and negative aspects of life. And as long as you have a supporting group, whether if it's your parents or someone that's like your parents, because not everyone has like biological parents, or some type of family, some type of friend, someone you can be with that will stand by you, help you succeed, tell you, what you could do to improve on that. That's why this movie is pretty important.
And guess what? There's a lot of apathetic people out there who think that their life is meaningless. And also, I once saw this wisecrack video how Rick and Morty and like Monty Python and the Holy Grail talk about the meaningless of life. And they're becoming lost souls themselves. They're becoming so big in their ambitions and thinking. They become so obsessed with their thinking. And also, that there is no happiness that and become lost souls themselves. They become apathetic and they become
Really, it's the circle of life.
Yeah, there's a big risk to like shows like Rick and Morty. I mean, I'm not gonna diss anybody who enjoys those shows as such. I mean, if you enjoy like stuff like Rick and Morty, who am I to stop you? Go ahead. But there's a big risk with the way that they're saying these things. It can have a bit of a bad influence on how future generations are going to think. Like, particularly the ones who won't be able to. The ones who won't be able to balance.
Soul is the counter to that. Soul is the counter to that.
So, speaking of which, these lost souls that this film depicts, they can they're depicted as people who can be like closed-minded or like depressed. There was an earlier scene where the moon hippie managed to comfort, but catch and comfort one of the lost souls and recover him. And by the time they sort of awakened in the living world, he kind of got up from his what we can only assume is an extremely dull office job, and this
is how people can feel at school. So I'm trying to say people can feel this at school too.
And he goes, "Yahoo! Life, baby, life." So in this case, that's where 22 is heading. She's going there, and due to the fade out, we, the audience, can just fill in the gaps. Yeah, she's gonna become a lost soul, but in the meantime, Joe gets the Earth Pass, jumps back down, and he gets back in his body. He's no longer a cat. He manages to get the gig with the lady on the saxophone, manages to get another chance, and he plays the gig, and he's really talented. Little touches in the film. I like how Joe is encouraged to improvise, because improvisation, in case you don't know your music history, jazz thrives through improvisation. Like, mid-performance, they'll just make up tunes as they go, just as long as it's sort of jazzy. It requires a mixture of sort of talent and spontaneity to order to pull it off. But if you look closely, you'll see the lady on the saxophone sort of playing around with Joe on the yeah, and they play the gig, and Joe manages to do it, and everyone's happy. But of course, it's not explicitly said, but Joe feels like something's missing, as if he's going, I did it.
But here's
now.
where I get in it. I've learned this from Schaeferless. Like, sometimes when you got something you wanted most in life, you feel like I don't know what to do now. I got what I wanted. I don't know what to do now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a sort of the very awkward sort of now what? You've achieved your objective. In fact, this is not the first time Pixar has done this. It's also done it before with, well, Pete Docter's previous film Up, where Carl manages to get the house to Paradise Falls, but it's like, I've just noticed a parallel here.
It's like poetry.
Oh, also Inside Out. Remember Inside Out? Because I watched Inside Out yesterday.
Yeah. There's a parallel where the main characters have to neglect one of the other main supporting characters in order to achieve their goal, but that leaves them empty.
Yeah, like with Joy and Sadness from Inside Out, Joy kept neglecting sadness and thinking that sadness was not important to emotion. When really,
sad was negative, something negative.
Right, sadness was a negative thing, when really sadness could be used as a positive thing. So when Riley tries to run away, Joy and Sadness, they work together, and they bring, with the other emotions, to bring Riley back home and to have her express feelings again. But as you were saying, Calum.
Pete Docter, did you neglect a friend in your younger years? I'm just saying. So yes, Joe is figuring this out. I thought this would be bigger than this. I love the story that the woman with the saxophone tells him, because it could brilliantly summarize not only what he's going. Yeah. She tells him a story with this analogy of a fish. She says the fish was living in the sea, and the fish said, "I want the ocean. Where's the ocean?" But then another fish had to explain, "Dude, what are you babbling and bubbling on about? You're in the ocean." And then the other fish said, "No, this is water. I want the ocean."
Actually, it makes some more sense if it was in a lake. If, like they said, if they're in a lake, and that if the fish was in a lake, and that I wanted the ocean, that would make more sense.
But either way, it's meant to illustrate that people become so obsessed over finding this thing that they're kind of underestimating what can be the absolute obvious, essentially. I've actually heard stories similar to this in a sort of analogous sort of way, and it's a very effective analogy to depict the foolishness of humanity.
And sometimes ambition can lead to evilness, and that's why Slytherin are always seen as evil, and ambition can lead, to bad things.
Harry Potter promotion, everybody. Joe heads back home. Another brilliantly. Oh man, I love this next scene. It's another beautiful moment, and it's a moment where he's having to think back to his life, and
his life flashes before his eyes, and he has to suddenly realize.
Oh, good one, Sherry. Good one. Yeah. Brilliant observation there, Sherry. So he notices the little objects that 22 in his body interacted with that even though she was apathetic before, she really enjoyed those little things when she was in Joe's body. So Joe now wants to help out 22 in return, and he's fulfilled his ambition, and he's starts to play the piano
in a very clever way. Actually, in a very clever way, he used to zone out because the zone out in order to return to the astral realm.
And it's very interesting that in one of the earlier trailers, we literally saw this scene in a sense, just all the flashbacks to Joe's life. It's interesting that we don't see those clips from the trailer scattered throughout the movie. Like, that one trailer, if you think about it, was spoiling a major moment from the movie. So
thank God I never saw a trailer.
Well, maybe it got people to realize that, hey, this part's really important towards the movie.
Yeah, it was a trailer where they were playing "Parting Ways" by the guy named Cody Chestnut. He was also singing that same song, and I think that was a song that was made before he still even came out. And I love listening to that song as well. And so therefore, I love the scene where the guy was playing in the subway. Again, attention to detail with playing the musical instruments. So in the scene, he's thinking back to his life, and he's had a good life, just dipping his feet in the ocean, looking out to the horizon with his mother,
seeing fireworks, and seeing how he had, found his passion for jazz by going to the jazz, theater.
So it kind of reminds me of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, where the main protagonist was speaking to all the, little things that happen with, in the movie and how fun it all was.
Even some of the bits that you were frustrated about before, you can just look back and laugh at it, just how absurd and ridiculous it was. He remembers when he was embarrassed to be in that hip-hop group when he was in his teens. He remembers cycling. He remembers all these wonderful things about life. And then, as you say, he zones out and he manages to get between the physical and the spiritual. And he's back in the spirit realm of the Great Before, only to find that Moon's crew is back, and they've noticed that Soul 22 has become a lost soul. They try to catch her, but for whatever reason, she's a lot harder to catch, which results in Moon's dream ship. Hang on a second. How does Moon form that ship anyway?
I guess he uses his imagination.
Imagination.
It's not bad. This leads to one of my favorite jokes. See, I don't know if you know me, but I can often have a really bizarre sense of humor, which is why I strangely admire Monty Python's television show, which gets really strange at times. So there's a scene where Moon is a ship gets destroyed, but Moon insists a captain always goes down with his ship. But because this is him leaving the sort of spirit realm, and in the physical world, he's still spinning around with the sign, which leads him to do this thing, which is, it's hard to explain, but when you see it in action, it's just one of the most strangest yet funniest things ever. So the captain always goes down with his ship, his spirit salutes, and then in the real world, you just see him go like. It's so strange, just randomly salute in public, but in the context of it, you understand. But it's just one of those little things that I just find really funny. And then there was silence.
Yes, Joe needs to save 22 because she's morphing more into a lost soul, where she looks like those big lost souls. And she goes into the Great Before, and all the Jerrys are trying to tell her to stay calm. Oh wait, actually, Jerry, I think, is it Jerry B? Because there's too many Jerrys, man. There are way too many Jerrys in this movie. I can't keep up which one's which. The male Jerry one tries to give an award to Terry, but then 22, the lost soul, jumps out and they take Goofy back. Oh my god, I was so.
Sorry, Terry. We love you. We really do. But it just. So Joe has to reach out into the mist where 22 is thinking all these negative thoughts about people pressurizing her into thinking this way and that, and just this really creative sort of intimidating imagery of sort of this dust and these people, and just this 22 is just sort of mumbling to herself. And Joe tries to reach out to her with the Earth Pass, but it's not working. It's just making her more upset. But then Joe reaches out for something seemingly a lot more simpler. Would any of you guys care to fill in the gaps here?
A little like leaf pod.
Yes. Apparently, when he was going into the zone, he put the leaf pod in his pocket. So
How do you do that? How do you do that?
The same reason that Joe still wears his glasses and fedora. It's visual representation, I suppose. With animation, you can pretty much do anything. But anyway, he gets the leaf pod, and that's what gets 22 to stop beating herself down, and find motive.
It's like they're taken back to the area where she found like the leaf pod, and Joe's the cat now, and 22
Just
is
make her
Joe.
comfortable.
Yeah, and then Joe explains to her that the past means that the little passport of the world thing, whatever, like means that she's ready to live. But 22 is nervous and scared about she doesn't know what's gonna happen, and yeah, Joe's like, no, you're ready. You're ready to go out to Earth.
And I'm not gonna lie, this scene where Joe is obviously sacrificing his life on Earth, I almost cried. I might have actually shed a small tear or so.
I cried when it was on New Year's Eve. I finally broke down and cried when he said you're ready to live. I broke down and cried. I had to hug my friend who was near me. You know him, Christian. I had to hug him hard because I had to cry so hard. It's kind of like how Riley felt in Inside Out, since she was technically a lost soul too. So actually, yeah.
Yeah. It's sweet release, huh? Yeah.
What if Inside Out and Soul are connected? Not just because they're directed by Pete Docter, but what if they're connected?
You're talking about the Pixar theory.
The Pixar theory,
yeah. Maybe we could. You know what? Just for fun, let's see how Soul connects to the Pixar theory after we're done talking about this film, because we're literally at the very end. So let's just finish this off. So I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I suppose everyone else thought this too, but I thought this movie would have been a lot more powerful if Joe had, well, I mean, to an extent they actually do that, but I like the ending that as it is as well, but Joe
would go to the great
people
beyond.
Are split with the ending. Some people think that Joe should have died, and some people think that it's fine the way that it is.
You mean die and then live again, like live immortally, or die or become one with something?
I have no problems with the ending, but I just think, man, what would have happened if they just faded to black right there? Wow. That would have been something. But either way, what happens here is that Joe is ready to go to the great beyond. He closes his eyes, extends his arms as a sign of acceptance, moves forward. He's fulfilled his purpose. He's lived a good life. He's ready to die and move on. But the Jerrys have
the female Jerry.
I think Jerry A. I think that's because there is like Jerry A, Jerry B, and C, D, E. There's way too many Jerrys.
As a reward for finally getting Soul 22, after thousands of years to finally accept the wonderful gift of life, they're allowing Joe to have another chance at life, which I think a lot of people were getting at, which is why they like this ending. Like, taking these things for granted, but now he's got another chance to live again, sort of thing.
Yes, second chances are very rare in life. You don't really get second chances, but when the opportunity comes, you better take that advantage because it may not come back to you again.
So,
That's the movie.
And
That's the
Oh
movie.
wait,
Yeah.
you wanted to talk about that. Remember, we were talking about this earlier, Calum. You said you liked the last quote of the film.
oh yeah, I love this last quote. This is if you what a they could not think of a better quote to go into 2021 in. The last thing that Joe says is basically the Jerry asks her, "How are you going to live your life?" Joe
I'm gonna
responds,
live every moment of it.
he says, "I don't know, but what I do know, as you said, Brooks, I'm going to live every minute of it."
I'm sorry, I stole your thunder there. I stole your thunder.
That's all right.
Still, it was a really great way to end the movie.
Yeah.
Pixar, you've done it again. You might have faltered a bit, but you've done it again. Bravo.
Congratulations.
Bravo.
Congratulations.
Hats off to you.
This better be nominated for an Oscar, I swear.
Yes, please. Nominate for Academy. No. Win an Oscar.
Oh,
Win an
I'm
Oscar.
sorry.
It better
I
win an
thought
Oscar.
you said
Since it is a Pixar movie, it has to win
Award.
an Oscar. And no Disney movie came out this year. It has to win an Oscar.
You should give it to another animation studio. Pixar's been getting too many awards.
If it goes to Illumination, I swear, if it goes to Illumination.
Wait, did any movies come out from Illumination last year?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So I think that Soul's got a good chance. Soul's got a great chance.
Yeah.
Bro, Soul
Jeff.
has 95% of Rotten Tomatoes. I say Soul's in good hands. Also.
Mhm. All right. So now that we've pretty much summarized everything that happened, as well as some amazingly philosophical insight from Brooks in particular, as well as some insights from you, Sherry, guys, what do you think of this movie?
I think it's fantastic. Absolutely spectacular. No, that's God.
I think Sherry's talking to her mom.
No, I'm still here. I think Brooks was talking to someone.
Okay.
I mean,
Alright.
I will say, I think Soul is gonna be in my top 5 for like, or at least top 10 favorite Pixar movies.
Yeah, I think it might be my number one. Might be my number one.
I like I said, there's a lot of similar. There's like
And
a
you
lot
know what?
of Inside Out
There's a
and
lot
Soul.
of. I had to say this, but there's a lot of representation in media. But here's the thing: I love that it doesn't matter about representation. It matters about the universal. Like anyone can relate with, anyone of any race or any ethnicity, any religion, anything can relate to this movie. Anyone, no matter if you're white, black, or any race, you can relate to this movie. And that's why I don't care about. I care about universal movie. I care about that connects to everyone, not just about representation, but about everyone, not just all lives.
Yeah. Props to Pixar for having another African American protagonist to like put in their Celebrate Black Stories lineup.
Yes. And yeah, just like how Disney have like Tiana for Princess and the Frog, and
Wait,
that movie also had a lot of jazz, music in there too, because it's Louisiana.
So. You weren't not informed about this. On the Disney Plus app, or software, depending on whether you use a laptop or your phone. If you scroll down in the home menu, there's this category which is called Celebrate Black Stories. In it, it's mainly focusing on Disney stories and films which have African American characters as the main protagonists.
Oh, and TV series, because I think I saw the Proud Family on there too.
The Proud Family, Soul, Black Panther, you name it, it's on.
Frog.
Yeah, that's my New Orleans. Yeah, I recommend beignets to you all.
Beignets. I'll be sure to try some out when I'm there, if I ever get there. Kneale has sent us some merchandise. Merchandise corner.
Hey, that's my line.
Oh, sorry.
We have merchandise?
I'm supposed to do the little trumpet thing.
I'm like the little monkey. I'm the monkey from the Jungle Book now. I'm stealing King Louie's mojo.
Wait, we have merchandise?
Yeah, this movie has merchandise.
Oh, I thought talk about us, like our channel.
No. We usually do. No, we usually do like a merchant. Actually, Kneale does this. Kneale does this merchandise corner that's based off like the movie that we're talking about. So we're talking about Soul. So there's are these Funko Pops?
Apparently they are. We have the cat.
And the cat with the, oh, that's so cute. And then there's there's a Funko Pop of Joe Gardner. And there's a lot of shirts, and there's like plushies of Joe as a soul.
The cat as too. Cat as a soul.
Yeah, it's kind of astounding how much the cat has made an appearance in the movie. People going into this will think, cat? What's a cat got to do with it? Watch the movie, you'll understand.
Yeah, like the plushie with 22 and Joe as a soul, so that's cute. And there's some shirts.
Too bad we can't show this to the audience, right?
Oh no, Calum has a way, I think.
Yeah, don't worry.
He did it before with the Muppets when we did Muppets Christmas Carol.
Yeah. I did. So I wouldn't be surprised if amongst the merchandise there was like this songbook you could play on the piano. I think, thematically speaking, that would be the most appropriate piece of merchandise you could possibly sell from this movie.
Oh yeah, definitely. The music is fantastic in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh my freaking god. I mean, I have a keyboard here right now, so fire away, Pixar. Come on. Give me some sheet music.
It's amazing. The music, just like the film itself, has some brilliant contrast. I mean, of course, the main general theme, especially in The World of Living, is the jazz and soul and the spunkiness of it. There's several scenes where there's a few improvisational moments where they get a bit spontaneous. The other half of the soundtrack is very slow, electronic, cosmic sort of thing, like you'd hear from Blade Runner or some slow like documentary films or something like that. Sort of like.
Hey, guys, I think we should end at the 2-hour mark.
It's quite astounding, and my personal favorite song from the soundtrack is the guy who's singing "Parting Ways." I think that's a wonderful song.
Wait, is that the one in that subway? Is it the one in the subway?
Oh yeah, I think that is the dude from the subway singing "Parting."
I've been looking for that song on Spotify. I've been looking for it.
"Parting Ways." That's the name of the song.
So how would we rate this? Because I know Kneale said he would rate this a 7. How would you guys rate this?
10 out of 10. 10
out of 10. Okay. You want to explain your reasoning?
Okay. This movie goes into so many complex, deep, emotional stuff that I wish, like more movies could do that. Like more animated movies could do that. It goes so close with life and death and everything. It's just so universal that anyone, like I said, anyone of any race or gender or ethnicity can get it. Anyone. It's universal. It's like, and it also gives us meaning to all those who say life is meaningless. No, you're wrong. Life is meaningful. Life is. If you say life is meaningless, then you never found happiness and you'll never be happy. But if you do actually accept that life has meaning, you'll find happiness and joy in others and in yourself.
Enough said. I would. I'm in an interesting position here. I would not. And it's really strange. After,
like I said, life is experience. The meaning of life is experience.
It's really strange. I'd probably rate some of Pete Docter's previous films as higher than Soul in a sense. But maybe in the future I'll have to make a video describing like my top 10 favorite Pixar movies. A teaser for my channel.
But you want to know something? People might say it's just fiction. There's no truth in it. But there's a lot of truth in fiction than people realize. A lot of it. A lot of truth. And by the way,
between you and us,
into fiction.
You'd be surprised that art has more truth in it than politics. Am I right?
Am I right? Am I right? You rat.
So, Calum, how would you rate this?
Yeah. I would not say that Soul is my top favorite Pixar movie, but if I were to rate it out of 10, I would give it a 9. It's amazing. It's really, really good. And anything I would have to complain about it are just mere nitpicks. It is fantastic. I would highly recommend it, especially to adults. It's kind of surprising how much this caters towards older people. In fact, you might want to show this to college students, actually. I think that would be an appropriate
We're college
age
students. I'm a
to
college
appeal to, because
not
the
in-
college age are the generation who are the most influential. It's the college age who are beginning to think, what is my life all about? What's my significance in the bigger picture? Show them this movie, and I think they'll get an idea of how they ought to live, which is ultimately what this movie is about.
Lucky me and Charisse are in that age.
Precisely. No wonder it appeals to the both of you. So there's a few things I find questionable in the movie, but overall, the anticipation for this movie, absolutely 100% worth it. Sherry, what do you think?
I love this movie. I mean, this movie is so great. Like I said, I get a lot of like Inside Out vibes because it kind of like the way that they explain how certain things work. So I mean, I'd probably give it like a 9 out of 10. I don't think it's perfect, but I just think I like the message, I like the animation and the characters and the music. Just makes me appreciate life, and don't take life for granted, guys. That's all I have to say. So I'll give it a 9. So that's actually 35 out of 40, which is about an 88%.
Thank you, Sherry, for making that estimation. I would not have known how to say that myself. Yes, because it's usually you, me, and Kneale, Sherry. So I thought I would calculate by 3. I would have said like 28.5 out of 30 or something. But who am I to speak? I'm terrible at maths. So now we're going to do something fun. Instead of a theme park ride, we're going to do something that is very typical of amongst Pixar fans. But you know what? This theory is actually a lot of fun. So, ladies and gentlemen, how do you think Soul fits into the Pixar theory?
Inside Out.
Pete Doctor, similar subject matter. What more needs to be said?
Wait, what if 22 is Riley before she's born? Well, then again, I don't know when this movie takes place. I don't know when this movie takes place, but I'm just wondering, what if 22 is Riley?
Whoa! What? Oh, good one. Although, maybe we might want to observe a few differences. I mean, of course, 22 being unborn has yet to develop her personality in life. But if I were to make some general observations, Riley may or may not be seen as schizophrenic, but being so easily listening to her emotions. She might be a bit more optimistic than 22 was, but hey,
but
22
no. Remember, remember? Here's the thing. When you're a baby, you're a blank slate, right? When you're a baby, you're a blank slate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so basically she has no memories of being 22, so she'll become a new person, and then she'll gain all those. And remember, like when she was enjoying it, like the little things, when she was like on those rails, she was enjoying the little things of life.
Right, because Riley also loved hockey.
Right. Was there not also a scene where Riley was playing a trombone?
Well, no, that's Bing Bong. Bing Bong, because her imaginary friend, she was playing like drums out of pots. She was using pots and like wooden sticks to play the drums with Bing Bong, her imaginary friend.
But you want to know something about what I feel like? When you get more adults, I feel like you get more emotion. When you try to do it for kids, you can get you would. I mean, take out the Lion King. Take out like Simba's father's death, and you don't get that much because usually kids are like fun and happy. But when you get more adult and you have like Simba's father's death, that's where you get real emotion. That's where you like. That's where, and this is when you get into the adult topics, you get real emotion. That's why I always try to make my work more adult. When I want to write my novel, write my book, I want to make it more adult and meaningful.
Something I really appreciate about Inside Out is that it teaches people it's okay to be sad or afraid or angry or disgusted as long as you can handle them in a healthy way. And I suppose that kind of ties into the whole concept of the zone and the Dark Souls concept introduced in this movie. How else? Do you think there will be any references to, I mean, of course, this movie came out before, and so unless Soul made references to Inside Out,
It had to be exactly in the same year it came out, but movies are in their own time. It doesn't even say what year it is.
Yeah, because Inside Out came out in 2015, but we don't know exactly what year Inside Out takes place. Neither do we for Soul.
Either way, it's sort of the contemporary kind of age, and people have spotted Riley loitering around with her fellow students in Finding Dory.
Wait, when she was younger?
I have no idea.
Well, actually, in the movie, cause I watched it yesterday. So the entire movie, except for like the last I guess a minute to 30 seconds or whatever, Riley's 11, and then at the end of the movie, she turns 12. Calum, we can't hear you, honey.
So I was just muttering to myself, 12 as in thought. Okay, what other movies are there? Like, okay, going through them: Toy Story, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, Bugs Life, The Incredibles,
Coco,
Coco, yes, Up,
Brave,
Wall-E, Onward, Good Dinosaur, Brave. I'm trying to find some kind of connect. Oh yeah, Brave. The Will-O'-the-Wisps kind of look similar to the souls in Soul, and we find out in Brave that the Will-O'-the-Wisps are indeed, in a sense, lost souls. Or to quote that Incredibles teacher, coincidence? I think not.
You look like the soldier from Team Fortress 2, or...
And next time you see a bunch of animals together in one place, it's called a zoo.
Unless it's a farm.
Unless it's a farm.
Oh, Scout, go yourself.
Oh, Scout, go stuff yourself. I'm watching my head for a thought of telling I'm sorry. Anyway, that's like
you're a really good impressionist.
It's temporary impression.
Oh yes, I'm just a sweet cat bastard. Hold on. Kneale has said something that might contribute to this.
I told him that I was theorizing that 22 is Riley. Maybe it's not.
Kneale has said, if it is true that 22 is Riley, if that's true, does that mean the emotions are get this, inside souls? And does that mean emotions have souls? And would souls have emotions? I can picture Kneale saying this. And those emotions have soul until we go all quantum.
Ant-Man, or we're going Ant-Man.
We're going
quantum realm, or actually in George Lucas's midichlorian quantum realm, in George Lucas script. They plan to go on into this quantum realm, in Ant-Man.
Oh yeah, but back to no one. I don't think I spotted her. No one spotted Riley in the movie, right?
No.
Okay.
What we need to do is watch Soul again, like someone rewatching Gravity Falls. Pay attention to the details. We might Even look out for the A113 number they always put in the movie.
I couldn't find it. I kept looking at the license plates and I couldn't find that code. I don't know. I can't find it.
Surely it must be on like some.
Kneale put something on here. He said maybe 22 is Boo from Monsters Inc.
Or 22 is Russell, maybe.
It's one of the kid characters, guys. We don't know who. Is it Riley? Is it Boo? Is it Russell? I don't think it's Miguel.
Or it could be Andy.
Andy, oh.
Sid?
I don't know. I don't think it's Merida. Violet, Dash.
Unconventional. Let's go outside the Pixar theory and go into the Disney theory. How about it's Moana?
Kneale keeps misspelling Pixar.
Picard series. Live long and prosper.
Oh, what if it's like Hero from Big Hero 6?
Oh, Hero?
Big Hero 6. Big Hero 6 is not a Pixar movie.
I'm going outside the Pixar theory. I'm going into the Disney theory.
The Disney and Pixar theory.
I'm crossing paths.
I mean, Pixar is owned by Disney, so.
So yeah. Yep. So it makes sense.
But I think mainly people like to focus more with just the Pixar because they treat Pixar and Disney as two separate companies. So I guess what we're all saying is that 22 has to be one of the kids from all the Pixar movies.
One of them.
Is it Riley? Is it Boo? Is it Russell? Is it Andy?
People at home, please type in the comments below. We're open to suggestions.
I'm telling you, I think it's Riley, y'all. Because, both movies are directed by... Well, then and Up is also directed by... And so is Monsters Inc. Oh my god, it's one of those movies. Oh no, I don't know.
Maybe we should stop this before our brains explode.
Oh, I have the perfect quote to end this. I have the perfect quote that I found online. And it's quoted by... The quote is by Mandy Hale. And she says... I'm assuming it's a she. There is nothing more beautiful than someone who gives out of their way to make life beautiful for others.
Deku did that for Eri. Spoilers. You'll see.
Plus Ultra.
You'll see.
Well, thanks, guys. I don't know what the next video is going to be. Maybe WandaVision, maybe Iron Man. I don't know. We'll have to discuss with Kneale, but thank you guys for joining us. Sorry, kind of got wacky and crazy.
Though we are parting ways,
but we are parting ways.
Sing it away. Sing it away. I'm just gonna end it right here before.
Cut the feed, pal. Cut the feed.
All right. See you guys later.
Hey,
Three, show your face to say bye.
Okay. Show yourself. Whoops, wrong movie. Bye.
Hey, she finally showed herself. That could not have been a more appropriate pun with the frozen picture behind you. I'm gonna cut the feed.